Hey, I'm Ethan. I'm a product designer by day and a solo game dev by night. This is Keeper Ledget, a tower defense and RPG hybrid that I've been building for a couple of years. You might ask what that is. I'll be explaining that further down in the video. I want to share why it took me 17 years to get here and how my failed attempts, childhood dreams, and obsession with games shaped this project. I still have a lot to do and decisions to make, and I find having a community and getting early feedback is really important. I'd love it if I got your feedback and cool ideas that may end up in the game, so let's rewind from the literal beginning. I grew up in Istanbul in the 90s in a typical middle-class family. Back then, homes had a PC room, a dim magical place where you'd get lost in games. To me, those games were more than fun, they were masterpieces. Classics like Heart of Darkness, Diablo, and Warcraft 3 felt like portals to other worlds. No YouTube, no Twitch stream, barely any internet to help you. We were just kids exploring imaginary universes from a glowing CRT monitor by ourselves. I always loved drawing creatures, high fantasy and sci-fi, probably thanks to my older brother. One day he brought home Warcraft 3 and that changed everything. Suddenly I wasn't just drawing monsters, I was imagining characters, weapons, worlds, skills. In high school I discovered Warcraft 3 custom maps. They weren't made by companies, just regular people, and that blew my mind. These games were absolutely amazing. I started playing the soul-draining game you all know. The game where you turn into your most toxic self for 40 minutes, and right after you lose you ask yourself why and still enter another game right away. Yes, Dota. Even though Dota drained hours from my life, it also pushed me to brainstorm. Made me analyze a game. What makes a game feel good? What makes a character fun? I loved some heroes and some felt boring. I even designed a hero at the time and sent it to IceFrog. He actually replied and that felt really exciting when I was 15. It was a clear sign that I enjoyed designing characters and coming up with unique skill ideas. But the first time I understood that I would try to make my game was when a high school friend claimed that his cousin made this game and sold it to Armor Games for $40. The game was addictive and we got obsessed over it for weeks. Either my friend or his cousin or this guy was lying. Either way, I remember thinking, this looks simple, I could totally make something like this. Later in college, I studied computer science and started working on games with two close friends. We loved Dota 2 and tried making a mobile version of Pudge Wars as our first game. It was chaotic, networking, 3D modeling, texturing were stuff that we know nothing about, but we got it working. The game was fun, but we didn't know how to launch or market a game, let alone a multiplayer one. So it failed. Before we tried to make it work, we started something else, a much simpler game, it also failed. Then a puzzle game inspired by Monument Valley. But having a lot of UI UX issues and game design flaws, it again failed. Then we tried a bubble shooter, this time working with a publisher. After they checked out the metrics, they told us to kill the game. Eventually, the failures caught up with us. Our team dissolved and with it, my hope of ever making a game. I wasn't the coder, I did the visuals and contributed to the ideas, and without a team, I felt like just the idea guy. But I had learned a lot and loved creating a game, so I had to choose, give up or go solo. I decided to start small, a space-themed endless runner which was fairly easy to code. Only my roommate and I were playing it during the pandemic, and we had become experts. But when I playtested it with others, I realized it was too hard, and by then I had lost interest, so I abandoned it. Then I tried a hyper-casual prototype. Again, publishers said kill it. Killing a game was a term publishers used and loved, and I hated. Devs are expected to create games like a production line, 2-3 games every month, judged by metrics and kill it right away. Being a solo dev, I wasn't able to do that many, especially games that I didn't like. After solo developing 2 simple games, I felt ready to create a more elaborate game that I liked. I wanted to create something I loved, not something I can kill right away. So I had a lot of big ideas: multiplayer survival games, MOBAs, puzzle games, tycoon games, and adventure games. I had a long list of game ideas and sketches of early art for them. But I had to choose something realistically small where I could tackle alone. Before all these games I talked about, before everything, there was Adventures of Ledget, the first game I ever tried to make with a friend. Ledget was a dwarf defending a castle from waves of enemies inspired by a character I made up when I was 8, after watching The Fellowship of the Ring. My friend was programming and I was creating very, very bad pixel art and doing the game design. We worked on the game for a couple of months and school got in the way and it was scrapped and forgotten. That is until now. 17 years after dreaming of making a game, I returned to Ledget, my first serious game project alone. When I first imagined this game over 12 years ago, the App Store barely had any real top-down RPGs where you could directly control your character like the games we had in Game Boys. So that was the feeling I had in mind. I loved Warcraft 3 maps like X-Hero Siege where you had to defend your castle with your hero. I also loved tower defense games and my goal was to blend the two. So my goal was simple. I wanted to create a pixel art, top-down adventure where you control a hero defending a castle against endless waves of enemies. The castle wouldn't just sit there, you'd strengthen it by building towers. The gameplay had to feel clean and focused. Just a joystick to control your hero through the battle. No cluttered UI to build the towers, it had to be simple. Your hero would have different weapons to attack enemies and unleash special abilities whenever they're off cooldown. And finally, I wanted to be vertical, not just for convenience but to capture that nostalgic Game Boy feel. And I actually did it. The first version was fun to play, but playing one endless map over and over again quickly got boring. There was no real sense of progression, so I added new maps and difficulty scaling, each one with unique enemies. Of course, as enemies got tougher, your weapons had to keep up. Originally, weapons had static stats and would drop randomly during battles from enemies. This was annoying because every now and then you would pick a shitty weapon accidentally, so I had to change it. Now you can choose your loadout before entering battle and upgrade your weapons before battle. Later I did the same thing for towers. Now you can upgrade your towers outside of battle too, as well as from the battleground. Both weapons and towers have two upgrade types. Small, cheap upgrades that level them up gradually, and bigger tier upgrades where you collect enough cards to evolve them into more powerful versions. While I was building all this, Vampire Survivors came out. And suddenly everyone I knew was obsessed. And I'll admit so was I. It was ridiculous, chaotic, insanely addictive and fun. Before long, dozens of clones flooded the app stores. And even though it wasn't what I originally planned, I couldn't resist. So I added the auto-skill mechanic from Vampire Survivors and added to my game. But that decision created a new problem. The auto-skills made the hero become too powerful. Originally, the strategy was to focus on your castle and towers. But towers started to feel secondary and almost unnecessary. To fix that, I split the game into 3 distinct modes and map types. Survival mode, just your hero trying to stay alive. Tower defense mode, your hero fights, but you can also build towers to help you survive. Castle defense mode, protect your castle, build towers, fight waves of enemies both with your hero and your towers. While doing all this, I realized something. The castle defense mode felt too complex for a mobile game and a small screen. So for the first version, I decided to temporarily remove those maps. And suddenly, my game started to feel like a Vampire Survivors clone itself. Now, I'm kinda stuck. I've invested so much time into this project, I have to release it no matter what. What do you think? Is Castle Defense mode too complex for mobile? Should I keep it or go all in on that mode for PC? I want to make both Tower Defense and Castle Defense modes feel fun and worth playing. And your feedback would really help. You can try the beta version on Android and iOS. The links are in the description. I'm planning to launch with 50 plus levels, new enemies and fresh pixel art, and I'll be posting devlogs along the way. Even if you don't play, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment or join the Discord. If you want to follow the journey, hit like and subscribe. Ledget is just the beginning. I've got tons more game ideas coming, so more is on the way. Later.